So this is my exhibition Transporter. There are a few main elements to the show. There's this large painting of called Bagasse, which is an image of the trash left over after sugarcane cultivation. It's these large geodesic spheres, and then in this piece here is a new work that I'm working on, which I'll tell you a little bit about later. The piece came together as I was asked to do a show as part of a conference on human trafficking, and so I was thinking about the forces of attraction and repulsion that drove human migration. Bagasse essentially is for me, it's kind of a stand-in for economies that consider human relationships and the environment and our soul essentially as a byproducts, and so it's kind of a harsh image of harsh black and white image of as I say, the trash left over after sugarcane cultivation. The geodesic spheres are these sort of, there's this reference to Buckminster Fuller and his sort of utopian vision, so it's kind of contrasting those two things, that sort of the harshness of the economy and then this sort of rational utopianism, which, according to Fuller, was about everyone, for the planet's survival, we all had to work together to cultivate this better world. But on those domes, I've placed a bunch of images that somehow contradict his vision in one way or another. So, an example of this is the slave canoe, which would be the canoe that would be rowing people out from the coast of Africa to the slave ships, and it talks kind of about human complicity in our own suffering and degradation. So you could look at that as sort of black on black violence, where it would be the black people actually rowing the canoes and the black people in the hold of the canoes, but more literally it's kind of human on human violence, which is what we're always perpetuating against each other. This sort of notion of nation and of race and so on are all fictions that we're constructing. So overall, what I'm trying to do with these work is I'm taking these images, which are often really, really heavily sort of politically loaded images, and I'm transposing them onto these sort of as patterns onto these kind of beautiful objects. And the idea is that there's a bit of a contradiction between the sort of material beauty of the object and the kind of heavy kind of political narrative that's underneath it. And my hope is that it sort of almost begins to pull apart the meaning between, pulls the meaning away from the image in a way, and makes us somehow more aware of the fact that these meanings are constructed, that the narratives that we tell ourselves about history are constructed, and it sort of is about opening up a different kind of potential. Lastly, I guess I'll talk a little bit about this piece behind me. So it is. It's really it's a piece that's in tandem with a bunch of off-site pieces that I'll be doing, and which are really these little constructions are going to inhabit public space in Victoria, and it's kind of about pushing forward the presence of a different kind of culture in Victoria, whereas Victoria has a very self-consciously constructed image, and it seems the powers that be are always trying to narrow you down in terms of what your possibilities are. The idea of constructing these little viral spiral objects, these objects that kind of contain a different idea, a different kind of sort of culture, is that it kind of elbows its way into that space and makes room for other cultures, other ideas to exist in public space, and it contests the notion of who that public space belongs to, who gets a say in what happens in that space, and whose voice is legitimate. Like this chair here, for example, I'm going to be building that. Well, this is kind of a prototype, essentially kind of proof of concept that these objects can be constructed around any other objects. So I'll be using essentially other items of street furniture in Victoria as a kind of armature to build these sculptures in. So it's this kind of slightly awkward thing that doesn't quite fit, but that's basically that's the idea behind it. It's this object that gets constructed around existing entities, and I'm kind of likening that to the the experience of cultures when they arrive in a new place and so on. There's a little bit of a sort of science fiction theme going on throughout the whole thing. Somebody was asking me what I was going to talk, or suggesting to me what I should talk about, and they're talking about alien abduction and colonialism, and I'm like, they're kind of the same thing. When you're talking about slavery, it's sort of there are these notions that of the alien kind of presence in Victoria, which I'm kind of playing with.